Hi, I'm Beth from Sew Country, and today's tutorial is not really that much of a tutorial. It's more of a we're going to learn something or trying to learn something together. I wanted to take the one scoop pouch from K.Azcona Designs and attempt to make it in all fabric. This pattern is written for raw edge materials like cork or vinyl. So I reached out to the designer and she gave me all her tips and tricks for turning this pattern into one that can be used with fabric. So I'm going to attempt it. So this is the start of the one scoop pouch, but I don't have one finished yet. I didn't want to go any further because I wanted to show you two different ways to do the pockets on it. I'm using fabric today from My Little Shindig. So I am taking this fabric, which I thought would be perfect for the one scoop pouch, but I needed to figure out a way to turn it into a doable project instead of using a raw edge material. So this pattern is designed to have two D-rings at the top and to wear this as a crossbody or a wristlet. You could do either one. One of my favorite ways to make this pouch, and I've made several of these, is to make these for birthdays or parties. What I like to do is I like to make them with the two D-rings at the top and string them together as kind of a garland for a decoration. They can take one of these, they can pick whichever one they want, and then they can fill it up with candy, and then they have a reusable bag to take home with them. So let's talk about the pieces we're going to need to create this one scoop pouch. We're going to need two top pieces. These are our scoops. The way I did this was I used a Decaville Light or equivalent, and I cut it out exactly from the one scoop, the ice cream scoop, the top pattern piece. Then what I did was I took the fabric and I gave myself about 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you can see here's where my Decaville Light ends, here is where my fabric ends, and that will give me enough room to put these two pieces right sides together to sew them, leaving a gap here at the top where I'll turn, but I will stitch all the way around, not going into the interfacing, just along the edges of it. I will then turn through the top and then iron everything flat. That'll be the first step I'll do with all these pieces. So let's look at the other pieces we'll be using. That's the top. Here is the ice cream cone for the bottom. This is going to be the back piece for the large. And you can see I'm having two of each of these, using the pattern piece to cut out the Decaville Light piece, but then going back and making my fabric about 1/4 inch on all sides for the seam allowance. So your fabric is not cut out with the pattern piece, your Decaville Light is. So now we have the back. On the back you can choose and either have a zipper pocket or a slip pocket. On the large I'm going to have a slip pocket, my slip pocket piece. Decaville Light is used to cut out with the pattern piece. The fabric is cut out about 1/4 inch bigger on all sides so we can sew them together. On the small, I am going to do a zipper pocket. The only other piece we're going to use is for the slip pocket, we're going to use a little snap tab flap. So I cut out two of these. Again, the pattern piece is used on the Decaville Light and then I interface it on the fabric. The other things you will need is you will need your hardware, which is going to be a zipper with the pulls. You will need some way to attach your strap or your wristlet, however, whatever method you choose to use. I'm using 1/2 inch D-rings and I'm just connecting mine with fold over elastic. So let's get started with the beginning steps of this, which is going to be clipping everything right sides together. What we're going to do is we're going to sew each one of these. We're not going to go into that interfacing. We're going to go right up against it. We're going to leave an opening on each one to turn them. So for the bottom slip pocket, I'll leave that opening right there at the top. For the ice cream cone, I will leave it here on the side, this straight edge. I will always try to find a straight edge to leave it on. So here on the snap tab, here on the bottom cone. On my scoop itself, I will do it up here at the top since I don't have any straight edges. After you sew each one of these, make sure to check both sides to make sure you caught all the seams. After you do, we're not going to trim any of the seams. We're just going to turn them right sides out using the opening we left in each one. You will almost always, no matter what material you use, have to take the time to iron these really flat. Tuck in the raw edges of the material after you turn it and when you're ironing, and then we will come back and then go on to our next step. So now that we have those pieces turned inside out and ironed, we're going to go over everything and then it'll be time to do some top stitching. Here's the snap tab. We can go ahead and top stitch around this piece. Here is the top and the bottom. We're not going to top stitch around these two pieces yet. Here is the slip pocket. I can top stitch just the top of this one. And here is the back. I won't do anything to this one yet. I'm going to pull out my top and bottom and I'm going to lay them so that they are laying exactly on the back. And what I want to do is try to see if I can make them both the same size. I'm going to clip, the pattern says you can use double-sided tape, but I'm just going to clip this overlap. And while I'm not going to top stitch all around, I am going to stitch this little area right here to hold these two pieces in place. So now that I have this top and bottom orientated the way I want to, I will top stitch from the front just where those two pieces meet all the way across there. So now we have three pieces we're going to sew. We're going to sew these two pieces together just along that edge of the bottom of the scoop. We're going to top stitch the top of our slip pocket and all around our snap tab. So for my version of my large, I'm just going to add the slip pocket right here on the back, so I will clip it into place. You definitely can use double-sided tape if you want a little bit more security of things, but I feel comfortable with just clipping. And I'm going to find out the placement for where I want the snap tab to go. Now, as you can see, your slip pocket's pretty high, so if you wanted to skip the little snap tab, you definitely could. But what I'm going to take the time to do is center this and see how far down I want it to go, and I'm going to use a cam snap and place that. So that is my next step on this, is to get that snap figured out and attached. Since I'm showing you the slip pocket option on the large, I wanted to make sure I took time to show you how you could also do a zipper pocket. You could do the zipper pocket on the small or the large, it's just a preference. So what I did was I took the pattern piece and I just put it right up against the top of the fabric. After I put the pattern piece there, I traced out the box on the fabric. I then clipped this fabric flush with the back of my ice cream scoop. There's nothing else there. This is just that one piece that has the two layers of interfacing sewed together and ironed. So now what I'll do is I will stitch directly on my box like I would any other zipper pocket. So now I have this stitched on. I'm going to cut through all the layers just like you typically do when making a zipper pocket. I always like to fold mine together to get that pocket started, I'll cut towards one edge, and then I will angle my cut to each corner on this one side, cutting through all the layers. Then I'll do the same for the other side. Now that I have that opening, I'll push my lining through. And I will take this over to the iron, but what I'm really trying to do is roll this lining back. And I'll put a clip here so you can see, so that no lining is showing from the exterior. That's the goal. If a little bit shows, it's fine. It's just the goal is to have that really nice opened box. Now that I have everything clipped, I'm going to go ahead and take this over to the iron to iron all this flat, and then we will come back and install the zipper. So I pressed the lining flat on the wrong side of this pocket, but I wanted to point out I made a mistake. Look at how skinny this side is compared to this side. I obviously had my lining not centered perfectly on this one. I thought I did. This typically wouldn't be a big deal, but since this is a raw edge pattern in a way, even though we're faking that with using cotton, that means if I did this the traditional way and just put my zipper tape here, I would have a big bulky seam here because my zipper teeth would be here. So I don't want to do that. I did adapt to make things a little different. I typically would not do this. So if you do yours correct with your zipper pocket centered and you have plenty of clearance on both sides, just use regular zipper tape. Since I didn't, what I did was I added zipper tabs on the end of this. I am purposely going to have my zipper tabs showing here in the window just a little bit, and that way whenever I sew over this, it'll just be my zipper tab, not my teeth, so it won't create that like bulky seam, that extra little bump there that I don't want to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and center my zipper and have the teeth directly in the middle of that box. You will see the zipper tape on both sides of mine. You will not see that on yours because you will not have zipper tabs. You will just have zipper tape. Now what I'm going to do, just like any other zipper boxes, I'm going to top stitch all around the perimeter of this box 1/8 of an inch away from that folded edge. That will secure the zipper to the back of the one scoop. This is the small version. So now I have that zipper box sewn around properly. So now what I'll do is I'll turn this over. I am going to trim this lining so that this pocket will stay inside my seam allowance. So I'm going to do that before I sew. So now I trimmed my pocket so it's within the seam allowance and you don't see it from the front of the back of the one scoop. I'm going to go ahead and sew around the sides and the top of this pocket. Now since I have this pocket sewn on this, I can go ahead and finish the small version of this one scoop. I'm going to choose to use foam in here as a stabilizer. I have my D-rings on, I have the front completed, I have the back completed, the pocket's good, everything's ready to go. I am using fusible foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these pieces right sides together, and I'm not going to fuse my foam at all. I'm just going to add some clips to the perimeter of this, matching up all the edges. So D-rings are going to be out, everything's clipped up, everything's matched. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to top stitch all around the perimeter of this. There's no opening to be left. You only have your pocket to the opening right in here. So we're leaving everything else closed up. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch all around this about 1/8 of an inch away. So now it's time to finish up the large one scoop. I have the front. The only part that is sewn is the bottom of the scoop to the top of the cone. I do not have D-rings on here yet. I do not have any top stitching all around here yet. This is the back of the large one scoop that I'm using this large slip pocket. I did top stitch across the slip pocket. I did clip on my snap tab. I did install the plastic cam snaps, but that's the only things I've done. You can see this is all open. That has not been sewn on at all. So what I'm going to have to do is add my D-rings, add the foam, and then stitch everything together. If you remember, I'm using fold over elastic and just 1/2 inch D-rings. This fold over elastic is stretchy, but this isn't going to be holding a lot of material, so I'm okay with that. I am going to attach these according to the instructions given in the pattern. So now that I just have this clipped in place, I do not have them stitched down at all. It is a little risky. Would it be smart to either glue or use double-sided tape on this? Of course it would, but I'm okay. I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine. I'm going to stitch slow. I'm going to use my stiletto to keep everything from shifting, and I'm going to go with it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back that has the snap tab and slip pocket. I'm going to flip it over. This is considered what would be, if you had vinyl, this would be the inside, the lining side, the ugly side of your vinyl. I'm just going to place this foam. I'm going to center it on this piece. You could use Decaville Light, Peltex, whatever you want. I'm going to place my front wrong sides down. So I'm looking at the right side of my front and my back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my time. I'm going to clip this all the way around, make sure everything looks good. And then it's time to sew this big sandwich of ice cream all together. Here is the front of my large one scoop. I'm now going to sew all these layers together. We had the layer of the front, the back, and the foam in the middle. We also have that slip pocket that's unattached, so there's a lot of moving components here. I'm going slow. I'm not rushing this at all. I'm going to take my time and get this all together. So I finished both my small and my large one scoop. One has a slip pocket with a tab on the back. One has a zipper pocket on the back. Did I make a lot of mistakes while making this and filming this tutorial? I sure did, definitely. I have a lot that I learned that I know I can do better on next time. I'm excited to try my next one with all the things I learned while making these two. But beyond anything, these are super cute, and it gives me a new way to use this pattern without having to use vinyl raw edge. I can use some of my favorite fabrics. This pattern is from K.Azcona Designs. I'll have the link in my description. The fabric is from My Little Shindig. It's part of her fabric club. And it also, not only do you get coordinating prints, you also get recommendations on patterns that would go well with it, and other things that she throws in there just for fun because they're cute and could be helpful. I will have the link for that in my description also. Definitely check out the Facebook pages for both of them to kind of get inspired and see what all they have to offer. Thank you so much for watching another tutorial for me. Thanks for being patient while we worked through this together, while I stumbled around and learned a couple of new techniques. I really appreciate it. This was fun, and I thank you for watching and being part of my sewing journey. I hope you have a great day and you're able to create something beautiful today.